Nobody in that studio knew his name. By the end of the night, nobody forgot it. He was 8 years old. He weighed 53 pounds. He had been in chemotherapy for 14 months and he had lost his hair twice and he had never once, according to his mother, stopped asking to go to the late show. Not when the treatments made him too sick to eat. Not when the hospital stays stretched from days into weeks. Not once. His name was Danny Kowalski, and he was sitting in the third row with a secret that was about to stop the most watched late-night show in America. The Thursday tapping had been running smoothly. Tom Hanks was in the guest chair there to talk about a new film, relaxed and warm in that way he always was, the kind of famous that somehow still managed to feel like your neighbor. Stephen was in peak form, the audience was hot, everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. Nobody knew about Danny yet. His mother had written to the show 3 months earlier explaining her son's situation, asking if there was any way to get tickets. The producers had arranged seats in the third row and left it at that. A small kindness, quietly done. Nobody expected it to become the center of anything. But Danny had come with something in his jacket pocket, something he had been carrying for 11 months, something that had started as a secret between a sick child and the most beloved actor in America, and that was about to find its way into the light. The first segment with Tom ran the way Tom Hanks' segments always ran, easy, funny, generous. He talked about the film, about his kids, about the bizarre experience of being recognized everywhere you go for 40 years. Stephen asked good questions. Tom gave good answers. The audience laughed at the right moments. And then, during the transition before the second segment, Stephen did what he sometimes did between segments: walked to the edge of the stage, scanned the audience, checked the temperature of the room. His eyes stopped on the third row. Later he would not be able to explain what made him stop there. Danny wasn't doing anything to attract attention. He was sitting very still, the way children sit when they are conserving something. A blue baseball cap covered his head. He was thin in the way that has nothing to do with age. And he was holding something in both hands pressed against his chest with the focused grip of someone guarding something important. Stephen pointed at him. "Hey, blue cap, third row, what's your name?" Danny looked up. "Danny." "Danny, how old are you?" "8. 8 years old on a Thursday night. Your parents know where you are." The audience laughed. Danny's mother, sitting beside him, raised her hand. "What have you got there?" Stephen asked, nodding at Danny's hands. Danny looked down at what he was holding, then looked back up at Stephen. "It's a letter," he said, "from Tom Hanks." The studio went quiet in the way studios go quiet when something unexpected has just arrived. Stephen looked at Tom. Tom was looking at Danny with an expression that nobody in that room had seen on his face before, something between recognition and something older than recognition, something that looked like it had been waiting. "Tom," Stephen said slowly, "do you know this kid?" Tom Hanks stood up from the guest chair. Subscribe and leave a comment, because what happened next is the part that nobody in that studio was prepared for. Tom walked to the edge of the stage. He looked down at Danny in the third row, and something in his face confirmed what the audience was already beginning to understand, that these two people knew each other, that there was a history here, that the letter in Danny's hands was real. "Hey buddy," Tom said quietly. "Hey," Danny said. The studio was absolutely silent. "You brought it," Tom said. "You said to bring it if I ever got to come," Danny said. "You said if I ever got to the late show I should bring it and give it to Mr. Colbert." Stephen looked at Tom looked at Stephen, and then Tom looked back at Danny. "Can I tell them?" Tom asked, asking an 8-year-old for permission in front of 400 people with complete seriousness. Danny thought about it for a moment, then nodded. Tom turned to Stephen. He took a breath. 14 months ago," Tom said, "I was doing a hospital visit, Children's Ward Los Angeles. I do them a few times a year, quietly, no cameras, no press. I just go and spend time with the kids." He paused. Danny was there. He was in his second round of chemo and he was having a bad day, one of the really bad days, and his mom had a Tom Hanks movie playing on the tablet to try to help him through it. A slight smile. He looked up and saw me standing in the doorway and he said, and I quote, "You're shorter in real life." The audience laughed. Danny looked unrepentant. "We talked for about an hour," Tom continued. "About movies, about superheroes, about whether a hot dog is a sandwich, the important stuff." His voice had shifted into something quieter. "And at the end, Danny asked me something. He asked me if I was scared when I played characters who were scared." Stephen was very still. I told him the truth, Tom said. I told him that I was always scared before a performance, that the fear never goes away. And he looked at me and he said, me too. Every time they start the treatment I'm scared, but I do it anyway. Tom stopped. And I thought this kid, this 8-year-old kid has just explained courage to me more clearly than anyone has in 40 years of making movies. The audience was silent in the way that means something has reached past the entertainment and landed somewhere more essential. I wrote him a letter before I left, Tom said. A real letter on paper. I told him that whenever he was scared, I wanted him to remember that courage isn't not being afraid, it's being afraid and showing up anyway. And I told him if he ever got to the late show, he should bring the letter and give it to Stephen, because Stephen is the bravest person I know. Stephen's expression changed. He looked at Tom, then at Danny, then back at Tom. Why me? Stephen asked quietly. Because you lost your father and your brothers when you were 10 years old, Tom said simply. And you showed up anyway. Every night for decades you showed up and you made people laugh and you never let the fear win. Danny needed to know that was possible, that it could be done. He looked at Danny. I told him you were proof. Danny had been listening to all of this with the focused attention of someone who had heard part of the story before and was now hearing the rest of it for the first time. His hands were still holding the letter, but differently now, not guarding it, just holding it. Stephen came down off the stage. He walked to the third row. He stopped in front of Danny and crouched down eye level. The way he always did with children, the way that said you matter enough for me to come to you. Can I read it? Stephen asked. Danny handed him the letter. Stephen unfolded it carefully. He read it. The camera stayed on his face, not intrusively, just present, the way good cameras are present when something real is happening. His expression moved through several things without settling on any of them. When he finished, he refolded it and handed it back to Danny. He's right, Stephen said. His voice was different, stripped of everything that wasn't necessary. About courage, about showing up scared. He looked at Danny directly. How many treatments do you have left? 4, Danny said. 4, Stephen repeated. And you've done how many? 18. Stephen was quiet for a moment. 18 treatments, he said, and you came here tonight. I really wanted to come, Danny said simply. Stephen laughed, the real one, the unmanaged one. Then he did something that nobody had asked him to do and nobody could have planned. He reached out and very carefully, very gently gave Danny Kowalski a hug, not the brief, camera-friendly embrace of a television moment, the real kind, the kind that lasts long enough to mean something. Danny hugged him back with both arms. When Stephen stood up, his eyes were wet. He didn't try to manage it. He just let it be what it was and turned to face the audience, who were in various states of having completely abandoned any pretense of composure. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen said, his voice steady in the way that voices are steady when a person has decided to be steady on purpose. This is Danny. He is 8 years old. He has been through 18 chemotherapy treatments and he came here tonight because he really wanted to come. He looked at Danny. And he brought a letter that Tom Hanks wrote him about courage, and I want to say something about that. He paused. Courage is not something that famous people have more of than everyone else. It is not a Hollywood thing or a television thing. It is an 8-year-old in a blue baseball cap showing up on a Thursday night because he really wanted to come. That's it. That's the whole thing. Tom Hanks, still standing at the edge of the stage, was crying, not dramatically, just honestly the way people cry when they are watching something they believe in. After the tapping, Stephen and Tom both spent time with Danny and his mother in the lobby. Tom signed the baseball cap. Stephen found out that Danny's favorite movie was Cast Away because Wilson is basically a friend he made from nothing, and that's what you do when things are hard, you make something from nothing, and made a note of it. 3 weeks later, a package arrived at Danny's house. Inside was a Wilson volleyball signed by Tom Hanks. The note read, "For the bravest person I know, keep showing up, Tom." Danny finished his final treatment 6 weeks after the tapping. His mother sent a message to the show's producers. It said, he watched the episode 4 times during the last treatment. He said it helped. The letter Tom wrote is still in Danny's jacket pocket. He hasn't put it anywhere else. His mother asked him once if he wanted to frame it. No, he said, I need it where I can get to it. That's courage, not the kind in movies, the kind in jacket pockets, the kind that gets you through 18 treatments and 4 more to go, the kind that shows up on a Thursday night because it really wanted to come. If this story moved you, like this video and subscribe, because some people remind us what brave actually looks like.